It is an exciting day at Harlaxton Manor because they are hosting the first ever 1940s open house day. This one-of-a-kind Victorian manor house located near Grantham in Lincolnshire, England has a long history, but it is particularly significant for the role it played during the Second World War. That heritage is being celebrated on this cloudy late October day, as the gates open for the public to enjoy the estates. Many guests dressed for the occasion, and arrived in their vintage 1940s attire. The manor house was built from the 1830s to 1850s, but it's set in the 1940s today. Harlaxton Manor is home to Harlaxton College, an American study abroad center for American students. While many students were off on their mid-semester holiday, some were back in time to participate in the events, some even volunteered, which was awesome. Out in the front circle, several collectors have generously brought their antique wartime vehicles for display. As an American, it felt very homely to see some good old Willys Jeeps here. Thousands of Jeeps were shipped to Britain during the war through Lend-Lease. I got to sit in the Violet Patricia. The owner of this Jeep was great to talk to. There's a lot going on inside, so let's head through the main entrance. Greeted by Roy, a Chelsea pensioner and poet.
Just about to start. Get a cue then. That's the one that's singing the evacuation. Hello!
The elegant interior of the manor's staterooms provide a most magnificent setting for various educational activities. The debut 1940s weekend centered around the Sir Winston Churchill exhibition, held in the morning and drawing rooms. This was more of a homespun display of selections from what is believed to be one of the largest private collections of Winston Churchill memorabilia in the world, collected by a Lincolnshire farmer over several decades. Guests had the opportunity to see this collection never before seen by the public. It was a brilliant showcase featuring all sorts of memorabilia representing every stage of Churchill's long career, from his subaltern military service to his several premierships. Even his works as a historian and author, as well as a painter, were on show. But just about everyone's favorite piece was an old wax figure from Madame Tussauds Wax Museum in London. If you'd like a full tour of the exhibit, check out my video linked in the description. That's not all, as Sir Winston Churchill himself was here to speak amongst guests and to tell them all about his life and times. The Churchill reenactor is brilliant. He'll be popping up throughout the day. During open houses, there are excellent live musical performances held throughout the day in the Great Hall. This weekend, it's all 1940s music. Mr. Bill Kibbe played the piano throughout the day. The Blitz dancers frequently danced along to some big band music in the middle of the hall. Miss Sarah Jane, the 1940s vocalist, knocked out some classic tunes from the war period. of the manor's showstoppers is the cedar staircase, with its elaborate plasterwork and trompe-l'oeil ceiling done in the Baroque style. Harlaxton Manor is privately owned by an American university, the University of Evansville in Evansville, Indiana. There are some placards highlighting that city's significant role in World War II, as it was the largest inland producer of Navy ships in America, and was specifically where many of the LST ships used in the D-Day landings were built. Several World War II British reenactors talked with guests throughout the day in the Long Gallery. They brought in all sorts of authentic and replica gear, weapons, and accessories from the war. During World War II, Harlaxton Manor was far more than a stately home. It became a military hub for the Royal Air Force, and later some of the British Army's elite airborne forces. RAF Harlaxton had first opened during the Great War, but by 1942, it was reactivated as an emergency landing ground for planes returning damage from bombing missions over Europe. The airfield itself was hidden in the woods up behind the manor. Air crews trained here for reconnaissance, communications, and close support operations. Units stationed here included the Royal Artillery Forward Observation Unit, as well as the 205th and 253rd Airborne Composite Companies. These grand staterooms became the officers' mess for the Royal Air Force, serving RAF Harlaxton as well as the nearby Bomber Command bases, such as RAF Bottesford and RAF Barkston Heath. But perhaps Harlaxton's most moving legacy is tied to the men of the 1st Airborne Division, who trained here in the months leading up to Operation Market Garden. Market Garden was an ambitious attempt to seize key bridges in the Netherlands using airborne troops and ground forces, aiming to outflank German defenses and open a direct route into northern Germany to hasten the end of the war. They lived and prepared in the manor house and grounds, briefed under the chandeliers, and carved their names in the attic walls above what is now the kitchen. Many of those young men never returned. Nearly 1,200 paratroopers were lost in the failed attempt to capture Arnhem in September of 1944. When the survivors came home, they built a memorial right here in the manor's Pegasus courtyard, which guests at the 1940s weekend were able to view and pay their respects. It remains as the first and only monument to the 1st Airborne Division in Britain. The reenactors brought in paratrooper equipment similar to what had been prepared here at Harlaxton Manor 80 years earlier.
This is the 253rd Air Dispatch Company. These guys were based here during the Second World War. They were in charge of the resupply for the airborne troops that were dropped during September 1944 and the Battle of Arnhem. And all the kit you can see in front of you was packed at Harlaxton, driven down south to airfields, and then dropped out over enemy territory to our troops in Holland. You can see the different types of container we've got. This is a parachute drop container filled with medical supplies. You can see the 2 stretchers, water bottles, various bandages inside there. Next to it we've got a wicker basket filled with ammunition. Notice the colour of the parachute. It was supposed to indicate the contents. So, for example, a red parachute would indicate ammunition. A blue parachute would indicate petrol. A white parachute would indicate medical supplies. This didn't always happen because of the rush to get the kit down to the airfield to get it loaded and get it sent across. But that was the idea behind it.
I don't know, Jim, I just called it Jim. I've no idea why. This race will never be won. I love my world, but does my world love me? Yes.
Jeep Johnson's fun and comical performances in the Great Hall were a hit with guests.
Off we go. Rebound, boom, bang. I'm killing dinner. Sure am. My shelter in the time of storm. skeleton right under the arm. She's a beauty if you look at her face, and you shouldn't be looking at any other place. It's gonna be lovely day. Well, I'll rock you, roll you all night long. Take it to a stop. 15 minutes of teasing, 15 minutes of squeezing, 15 minutes of blowing my top. So if your man can treat you right, and this romance won't be through. Not until you let me spend my life making love to you, day and night, day and night. Yeah, you got me, baby. Night and day.
Here in the Gold Room, guests could try out Churchill's favorite champagne, Pol Roger, while learning all about the history of the House of Pol Roger and its special relationship with Britain. Churchill was a devotee of the house and was a personal friend of its owner, Odette Roger. Learn more about that history with my video about this display linked in the description. Coffee, tea, and treats are available in the state dining room, with a beautiful view outside over the Vale of Beaver.
He says, Sarah, he says, I don't think she'll get the role. So I knew who Sarah was, I thought, do you know what, he's not fine.
Back out front, let's take a closer look at these Jeeps. King George VI rode in this Jeep during his visit to RAF Harleston, accompanied by American Major General Carl Spaatz, who also rode in it, to visit the 301st Bomb Group in November of 1942. His Majesty inspected the B-17 Flying Fortresses with the American Army Air Corps commander. The King may have showed up here at Harlaxton in a Jeep like this when he inspected RAF Harlaxton a few weeks before D-Day in 1944. That's a Dodge WC-51. These were primarily used to carry weapons. Britain and the Soviet Union got lots of these through Lend-Lease. Here's a customized Landy, a Land Rover Defender which was the British equivalent to the Willys Jeep. I like the jerry cans on the sides. There's a Chevrolet G506 cargo truck. During the war, these were used here in Britain to haul everything from food to ammunition. They were commonly used on airfields, so there was probably one like this at RAF Harlaxton. This is a classic Harley-Davidson WLA motorcycle from the early 40s. Thousands upon thousands of these were supplied to British and Commonwealth forces, often used by dispatch riders and military police. This Willys MB Jeep has a Browning M2 heavy machine gun mounted on the back and aimed right at the manor house. Check out this steampunk bulldog. Churchill was likened to the bulldog both because of his strong bulldog personality and his bulldog-looking face. So younger guests can do a scavenger hunt around the manor to find all the bulldogs. Let's go see what Winnie's up to.
Yes, indeed. I'll be checking your pockets.
So you're in Lincoln, I believe.
Yes, indeed, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, it
I thought
is.
you were,
Nice
yeah.
to see you. Happy to see you, sir. You know, the guideline or whatever, and you do all the, squaring off, and then you go, marvellous, look at that, marvellous, I'm off for lunch, and you go back in the charcoal.
The French resistance camp is stationed out in the conservatory. La Résistance often operated from improvised woodland camps like this one, while they usually weren't in an exuberant conservatory like this, but instead hidden in real nature within the countryside. Supplies were scarce, so camps were cobbled together from military surplus, stolen German gear, or whatever civilians could offer. Their weapons were a mix of whatever they could get their hands on, so there's a variety of guns and whatnot on display. Many carried Lebel or Berthier rifles from World War I, Sten guns and Lee Enfields dropped by the British, or captured German MP-40s. Ammunition and explosives often came from Allied airdrops, many of those coordinated by the British SOE, the Special Operations Executive. The French have grenades, machetes, and Molotov cocktails ready to fight the German invaders.
Or you can bring up a light fuse detonator at the group net, and then you could essentially tie it around something.
The Maquis would often use dummies, scarecrows, or even sandbag men like this to trick enemy patrols into overestimating their numbers, or to distract during ambushes. What a fantastic setup here in the old conservatory.
Okay, well, Winston, your Clementine is a lady of slender shape.
Yes.
And that might suit you, it wouldn't suit me, sir, so we don't have to fight about it. Or nothing like that.
Certainly not here today. There was a chance of passing me, and Tony never comes out and it's going to be clanging.
Gals being fat when you go to hug her, you don't know where you're at. You have to take a piece of chalk in your hand. You hug the ways of chalk mark to see where you can get one day. My name is Rosabelle McGee. She tips the scales at 303. Hello, son. I have a love sick blues.
So the first day of the first ever 1940s weekend at Harlaxton Manor was a total blast. It was lively, entertaining, and educational. The next 1940s weekend at Harlaxton Manor will be the 4th and 5th of October 2025, so check out their website to learn more and purchase tickets. I hope you enjoyed the visit. You can check out my full detailed videos on the Churchill displays linked in the description. Also make sure to check out my video on the second day of the 1940s weekend, because it turned out to have some different wartime vehicles and activities that weren't available on this first day. Also check out my other content on all sorts of historical places, events, and much more around the UK, across Europe and America. Thanks for watching!